Hello everyone, hope you all are doing really well today. Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Sneha John and I'm a psychologist working at LifeWorks. I work as a child and adolescent psychologist and today I'd like to talk to all of us about empowering our children during stressful times. So as all of us have now been asked to live in a new way over the past few months now, it's been 2 to 3 months that we are living in the house. Even our children are doing online school. We're working from home. So it has been a time of new changes for all of us. So over the next 1 hour, I will just be guiding you and talking to you about how we can bring positive changes to our child's behavior, how we can empower them, how we can help them to have good thoughts, and also how we can talk to them about their worries and anxieties, especially as they also get used to a new way of living with COVID-19. So that's what we'll be doing over the next 1 hour. We'll also be looking at how you as parents as well as educators can have time for yourself, and which is very important as you look after children, time to get good care, to have some self-care routines. And this is what we'll be looking at for the next 1 hour. So I'd like to actually get started with how you may be all feeling as parents and even as educators during this time of big changes that have happened. So the first thing is, as I've talked to several parents, I hear the common thing they say is that they feel anxious. Okay, they feel anxious about what is the present going to look like. How is it that they're going to work and look after their children from home? How is it that they can spend time with their children? How is it that they can look after their learning? And also a lot of parents are anxious about the future. They're anxious about what is life after COVID-19 going to look like. Can my children go back to school? Can I go back to work? So of anxiety that's going on at the moment in the mind of parents. Okay, and another thing that parents may be going through, they may be frustrated. You may be frustrated about just doing daily routines, and one thing doesn't finish on time, so you think, so you have, how am I going to get the entire day done? My child woke up late, or I haven't finished breakfast. And there's so many things that get into, everyone being together in the house. So frustration is a big part of that. Maybe you might be feeling frustrated, or you may be feeling guilty because you're not able to spend as much time as you'd like with your child, with their studies, looking after what they like, their activities, because you're also working. You're also looking after the home. So feeling guilty is also something that comes part of this process. Sometimes you might also be feeling sad because you miss the other side of how it was before COVID-19, going out and meeting your friends, also getting your children out, all the different activities that they used to do. So again, missing that, and you might feel sad about that. So I would like for us to know that some of the many emotions that you may be going through on a daily basis. Okay, but if you're going through that, then your child would be going through something more. So the child will be going through double what you may be feeling. So the thing is, if you're feeling angry and if you're feeling anxious, then they will be feeling agitated. And what do I mean by agitated? That means they may be feeling restless. They're not being able to cope with what's happening around them. They don't understand, why is it that I have to study from home? Why is it that I can't go and meet my friends? So instead of actually coping with that, they may be feeling very restless. And you see that in the form of different behavior. Like, for example, they might cry, they might throw a fit, they might start shouting, they might start wailing. There's so many things that they could do as they get agitated, and they really wanted an answer to when can things go back to the way it was. So they also might be feeling bored because, as you know, as I always, I say this, it's that children are one of the most busiest people. Usually they have their schedules are packed out from the beginning of the week till the end. From Saturday till next Saturday, it's fully busy. They have so many activities. They've got school. They're always busy. So at this time when there isn't anything of that and they're at home, they would be feeling bored. They would be feeling that they miss all the different things they used to do before, and they might be also feeling a little confused, because especially the little ones, when is it that we can go back to our normal way? When is it that we can go outside without wearing a mask? Why is it that we wash our hands? And why are people getting sick? So these are some questions that children may have. And also another thing is they might be feeling nervous. Nervous because a lot of them are now doing the exams, and now they are actually asked to do the exams online, which is a first time for many of them. They've not done them online. So doing exams online, finishing the assignments online, all of these things may be creating a little bit of nervousness. Can I do my studies properly? Will I be able to pass? Will I be able to do well this year? And also nervousness about the future. If will I get to go back to school? How would that look like? Will I get to enjoy with my friends? So a little bit of nervousness about that is something that a child may be going through at this time. And again, they may be feeling sad. Okay, sad because again that they miss the way it used to be before. They miss the freedom. They miss again, they miss their friends. They miss playing outside. They just miss doing what they used to do before with their teachers, seeing their teachers, learning in a school, and even daily activities that they used to do. So they may be feeling sad that things have changed quite quickly. So I'd like for us to be aware of that. And you might be already talking to children who might have already told you this. But sometimes children cannot verbalize and tell you that they're feeling this way. They just behave in a certain way because that's the way they know how to do it. So how is it that we as parents as well as educators can help children at this time, as we are also going through it? So I would actually encourage us, the first thing that we could do is to redirect them. And what does that mean? That means that when they have their questions, when they have their worries, we will say, okay, I'll listen to you. We wouldn't actually say, no, it's not important. It's silly. Let them speak. Let them speak out their worries to you, and you can hear them out, because that will help them to feel calm, and that will help them to know that you are with them. Okay, even though there's so many changes around them, what they really need right now is a supportive family system, as well as their teachers to work with them. So as you actually allow them to ask their questions without actually saying, no, I don't think it's right, or even thinking too much about that, they will know that you are with them. You may not have the answers to them. You might not know what to say to some of them. You can be honest when you respond, and you can actually tell them that I don't know the answer to this, but we are in this together. And that's what I want us to do. We will work with them. Okay, and the next thing is to invite them to learn new things. This can be a great time, a valuable time that they can actually discover some of their hidden strengths and values. So it could be even time with family. They can learn so many new things. It could be a new skill. It could be a new hobby. It could be a new language. It could be learning to look after someone like a sibling. It could be so many things. So let's invite them to learn new things during this time. We will learn with them, even as they have knowledge probably on games. They have knowledge probably on a subject, on some sort of subject such as bullying or whatever it is. Take the time to learn with them. Take the time to listen to them. So those are the first two parts. And you will see the first one is redirect, that's R, and the second one is invite, that is I, and then we have the S, which is standing by them, which means that we would actually communicate through our actions that we are with them and we are on their side. Okay, sometimes they do things that, again, we don't understand. Sometimes they do things that we do not like, but ultimately we do things for their good, and we want them to succeed. So through our actions, even when they, for example, they are not listening to you, you would actually speak to them and say, yeah, this doesn't look like something that that makes you happy or me happy when you don't listen to me. and I'm actually on your side. I want to help you through this time. So communicate through your actions, communicate when you talk to them. We're in this together. It's a little different because we are doing life a little differently, but we are together and I'm on your side. Okay. Next thing is empowering them. And when I say empower, I mean that we give them the power. Okay. They might not have the power to face this season on their own. So we give them the strength that we have. We empower them. We make them strong. We help them to know that they have something with them right now. They have, for example, they've got a good home. They've got good family. They've got good teachers, siblings. They've got probably they've also got good talents. They've got a mind to learn and understand. So I always do this where I ask the children, do you have, what are the 5 things that you have that is the same right now? Everything else may be changing, but there are 5 things that you can count in your hand that is the same. And they'll count, and then they'll say, I've got my family, I've got my teachers, I've got good siblings, I've got good friends, I also can learn. There's so many things that they say, and we are just asking for 5. So what we will do is we will help them to use what they have at hand, even though there are some things that we cannot control. So as we do this, okay, and we put all of them together, the redirect, invite, standing by, empowering them, we will help them to rise above the current situation. Okay, that's what we'll help them to do. We'll help them to rise above the current situation and to thrive in this time. But you may be wondering why and how do I do this? How am I supposed to do this? So we'll be talking a little bit about how you may be doing this. And the first part of my presentation is to focus on the thoughts. And that is to help them to create healthy thoughts, because it all starts with a thought, right? It all starts with a thought, the way that we react to certain situations. So when we start with, we are going to talk about the thought of worrying. And that's because we are adjusting to a new life with COVID-19. And so I would like us to think of what actually is worry. Worry starts, it's an emotion, and it starts with a thought, okay? A thought that things are going to change in my life and I cannot control them. In the past, worry was used to keep people safe, and even it does even now. It's used to keep people safe. It's used to keep people motivated and to plan ahead for the future. But sometimes when you worry, one thought leads to the other. What happens is that we get exhausted. We cannot focus on what we need to do now. And the same goes with children. It becomes too overwhelming for them because it's not that they're trying to control one thing and then there's another thought coming and another thought coming, and then they won't be able to even focus. That's what happens. They won't be able to live, and they may be upset. They may be feeling very, very scared. How is it that I'm going to do my next day of online learning? How is it that I'm going to pass this? How am I going to speak to my teachers about this? There's so many worries that one leads to another. So worry usually comes when there's, 3 things. One is when we don't know the future, when we don't know what the future is going to hold, when it's uncertain, when it's something new, like this one. This is something we've never faced before. No one has faced it before. It's a new thing, isn't it? And also unpredictable. When we can't predict what is going to happen tomorrow, day after, next month. We have to take it one day at a time. So that's when the worry sets in. And an example of a worry chain, it just, as I said, it starts with a thought and then it keeps going on. So an example of that would be in a child's mind is, I miss my school, okay? And I cannot cope with e-learning. That's the next one that could be. The next thing that comes is I will fail all my exams and there's no point of trying. What is the point of trying? And then they reach the conclusion that I can't do anything right. That's what happens. That happens for a lot of children. And what happens is we might see the child in that state. So when you have to put that extra effort to push the child, and to motivate them to do their work or to log into their classes or to study for their exams, they might have already reached that stage where they think, I can't do anything right. What's the point? So I want us to understand that that's the reason why they try to avoid it. It's the anxiety that makes them avoid it rather than, not wanting to do it. Yeah, so that could be, that's because they are just afraid. How are they going to cope with this? So is this something that we can help them with? So if the child has a worry that I'm finding e-learning difficult, we can definitely help them. If, what we can do is actually we can have a chat to them. We can talk to them and say, is what's actually going on? Looks like you're not wanting to get onto your classes. I think there's something beyond. I think there's something more. Are you finding this hard? Are you finding this a little tricky? And if they say yes, most of them, they will say yes. Maybe they will say no, it's fine. But I would actually encourage if you, as well as your child, would speak to the teacher and would try to find a good plan that could work for the child. Yeah, could be an easier workload, maybe some live classes along with assignments, something that could work for the child so the child gets a hang of it. So this is a problem we can solve, right? We can actually do something about this. But how about some worries that are set in the future? For example, I will fail all my exams. That is something that we have no control over, and it's not something that we've reached. It's just a thought the child has, right? It's a worry, and it's not real. That's what I want us to know. It's not real. So even as we may tell them that it's not real, but they're not able to believe that, what we can do is we can do what we have at hand. We can say that, okay, that's the thought that you have in the future, but we don't know that yet. So let's let that go and let's focus on what we can do right now. And we'll focus on studying, and I'll help you through it. And we'll focus on doing the things that you have to. And that's a thought that that's not in our control. So we're going to practice to let that thought go. So I want us to do that along with the child, to let that thought go. And as you practice it, it'll become easier for the child. Okay, to let go of those thoughts they don't have a control over. So I would also like to now talk a little bit about how anxiety comes and how does it show itself. It usually shows itself in the form of different behaviors. Okay, so if you see that a child is finding it difficult to go to sleep in the night, either they resist, they would say no, or either the older children, like the teenagers, would spend a lot of time on their gadgets, their social media devices if they have the access, or they might just not sleep. They might be lying on bed, but they sleep very, very late. They get sleep quite late. That's because of anxiety. And that's because they have some thought going on in their mind that's worrying them. And they might wake up late the next day and not attend their classes. And you might be wondering, why are they feeling so tired? We all slept, at a good time in the night. It's because they are anxious and their mind is active during the night. And then you will also see some children feeling quite, you would see them getting angry a lot. You would see them, having temper tantrums. Even for the smallest thing, if you ask them, can you please put this spoon on the table? And then they would start yelling at you. They would say no, and they'll start making a fit. That also could be because of anxiety. Okay, it could be because there is something bothering them that they're not able to tell us. You might see that sometimes children would just say a no to you. That's called defiance. If they ignore, if you're talking to them and they are just thinking about something else and they would not listen to you, they might say, yes, I'll get done with my assignments, but they don't finish it. They would just agree to it, but they will do something else. It's not necessarily because they do not want to listen, but rather they don't know how to do it and they're feeling anxious to approach it. Okay, and they might also then get angry saying that, oh, no one understands me, all of these different things, but it starts with anxiety. Stomach aches is something, is a common part. Headaches is a very common part of it. Feeling like vomiting, frequent urination, going to the bathroom. Another thing is when they start to study, they're not able to focus. They get distracted. by different things. Even if you make sure the distractions are very minimal, they still start thinking about something else, and that's because of anxiety. They might start crying, abruptly. Even when everything's going okay, they just start crying. That's another form of anxiety. They might, some of the times, children in the night or even during the day, sometimes they do certain things in a particular way. So you might see a child would actually try to switch off the light in a particular way so that the next day will be good for them. Or they might try to put the blanket on themselves in a particular way so that the next day will go well for them. That's another form of trying to cope with the anxiety, which might not help. But that's something that I'd like for you to think about. If you know anyone, your child or someone you're working with who has been doing these type of things, and even as for educators, I would like to say, if you see children are avoiding school, are getting late in submitting their assignments, delayed quite a lot of times, and it's, even though you've spoken to them, it's not working. It could be anxiety that's making them not want to finish it and just avoid school and everything else. So that could be something that you could keep in mind. And now that you have this in mind, what do we do? How do we approach children? How do we speak to them? So I would actually encourage that we have a simple chat with the child, one-on-one chat, not with anyone else. And we actually take them through, and we actually do this one thing where we do not personalize the worry. Okay, we keep the worry separately. It's a separate thing. It's not them. Okay, you wouldn't say that you are worried. Okay, that because when we say that, it shows that the worry is part of that person and that person's identity. But you would say you feel worried. So we'd be careful when we talk to them. Okay, we'll address it separately. Okay, and then we'd also find an appropriate time to speak to them. Not when they're crying, not when they're throwing a temper tantrum, not when they are even sleeping. You would actually find them in a good space when when they're calm, when they are doing an activity, when they're just relaxed, and when you are not tired or anxious. That's a big one, because sometimes when we are anxious and when we feel already quite stressed out and tired, then it may not go well, because they might speak something to us, we might speak something to them, it ends in a fight. So make sure that you're in a good space before you address and ask your child, about the anxiety. Are you feeling worried? With school, are you feeling worried about this? So that's something that could actually help. And another thing is really using age appropriate language. So even as a child may express a worry about what's happening with COVID-19, it would be good that we don't give them all the information, or even information that is negative. Okay, we would actually say that yes, we would tell them in a friendly way. We would tell them yes, there are some changes that are happening, and people are getting sick by this virus, and they're getting better too. And you can even tell them the good reports of people getting better. But we just need a little bit more time for the government to make sure everyone's okay, so that we can go back to normal. So give them the good hope, and make it brief, that you don't, even if they ask you questions, you may say the same answer without elaborating too much, and then they would keep thinking about that as well. You may say something very brief as, yep, we don't know all the answers, but we'll get this, we'll get through this together. So make sure that it's in an appropriate way for their age, something that they can actually understand, and keep it very simple, regardless of the age. Keep it brief, keep it simple as they ask you something and you're giving them an explanation. Now I'd like to talk you through age by age guide. I just want to give you a little bit of a heads up on when you're helping children to process their emotions, starting from ages 3 to 5. These are the toddlers. Of course, they are learning to actually understand the world. They are learning to understand how everything works, and so it's really helpful for them to learn the basic emotions, the basic feelings. And I would really like you to invest in games for them, games that show pictures of different emotions, different feelings. He's feeling happy, sad, angry, tired, sleepy. You actually build it up, and then you show different pictures of children who are feeling that way. Help them to identify that. Help them to act out how they're feeling. Okay, it could be a fun game that you do with them when they have their playtime. Okay, you can even tell it to them in the form of a story about someone else, not about them, but some other boy or girl, or even an animal who is going through some a new change, something new has happened to them. And for example, they might be now learning from home, and you can actually put the example of a different person or an animal or anything else to actually say the same thing, and also say these and put out the feelings and say, this person, I think if it was this person, he would be feeling sad, he would be feeling a little, he might not know what's going to happen, he might be feeling worried. And then ask them, do you feel that way sometimes? And help them to learn what are emotions, the basic emotions. So games work with them, pictures, showing pictures of other children also work with them, and also helping them, encouraging them like a game. You show them to act out how they feel. How does happy look? How does excited look? How does sad look? So they are able to know, and they're able to build up their feeling vocabulary. I'd also like to add that there is a good kind of some good toys called Kimojis, which are really, really good to help children to learn about emotions. The next thing that I'd like to talk about is for children a little older, ages 6 to 10. They, of course, they would need some one-on-one time, and you might be talking to them rather than a game. And I'd like to recommend this activity, which is called highs and lows. It works with anyone above the age of 6 to 10, where you and the child spend some time before the day finishes, and you would speak to the child about a high point in your day. Okay, you would say, for example, I felt proud when you spoke quietly and when you played quietly when I was on the phone. That's a high point. A low point of the day would be, I felt worried when I had to finish something fast. That's a low point. And also, as you do this, describe how did you come over the situation? How did you overcome? What did you do to finish that, whatever you had at hand, whatever task you had quickly? What did you utilize? What did you do? So if you say, I felt worried when I was finishing something, but I did the first thing that I had to do. I did the first thing that I had to finish, and I finished it on time. So give them examples and ask them as well, what made you feel happy today? What made you feel sad today? What made you feel angry today? And have the conversation with them so that they're able to speak to you about how they feel. Okay, now when we look into the next age group, we are going to be looking into ages 11 to 14, and they are now slightly older. So they might have heard of things like worry or anxiety, or maybe they haven't. Okay, but it's really good for us to sit them down. If you see any of those things that I've told you before, any of those behaviors, as I've told before, sit them down, spend some time with them, and just ask them, have you heard of anxiety? Have you heard of worry? What do you think it means? Maybe they might say it's a disease, celebrities have it, something like that. Welcome it, it's okay. Those are good ways to engage them. And as you just hear back from them, just tell them that anxiety or worry, it happens when we don't know what the next thing is going to be like in our lives. It happens when we feel like we cannot control something. Yeah, very simply. And you can even tell them, do you feel that sometimes? Ask them. And then, when as they tell it to you, thank them for telling you the way they feel, and even tell them that if they feel that way, they can come and talk to you. But both of you can actually spend some time to problem solve. What could we do about this? If there's something that, for example, if it's an e-learning example that they feel anxious about, what can we do together to help you feel more comfortable with this? Can we learn it together? Can we go through it together? So first listen to them, and then you can give your opinions and let them decide. Now, when we reach the 14 to 18 age group, teenagers, again, you would see that they are more closed and they would feel better, comfortable to talk to their friends and their peers who understand them in their own age level. You might see them being withdrawn. You might see them not wanting to talk to you as much about the way they feel. But I think it's still a good time for both parents and educators, teachers also, just to make sure that you're there for them. Could be something that you speak in the class as well, and it could be something as a parent that you speak to the child and you say that I know that, as a teenager, there are some really good things that are happening, and sometimes you do have some struggles too. And then ask them, who is it that you can open up? Who is it that you can talk to? And you can feel happy to talk about how you feel. And they might say one person, they might not know. And then you may ask, what would you like in that person? What sort of person should it be? Maybe they'll say that person should be understanding, shouldn't actually correct me. So you can even learn to become like that for them. Listen to them and then give them suggestions so that you can guide them. Instead of telling them what to do, you would guide them and give them the options. If it was me, maybe I would have done it this way. So give them the options. You'll be more of a guide in that time. And ask them, have this conversation with them and ask them, who is it that they can open up freely with? Who do they find comfortable, like an adult? A friend would be fine, but as an adult, who would they like to talk to? So I would like for us to do that, especially as we help teenagers to process their emotions. And they are those that we need to actually keep in mind, because yes, a lot of them do spend a lot of time alone, without spending time with their family. And so if the parents can actually come alongside, if the educators can come alongside and be there for them, and also and just to support them and say, I'm there for you. You might be going through something that I can't understand, but I'm still going to try. I'm going to be there for you, and I want to be available. So now let's look at, we have gone through the thoughts. Now we're going to go through the strengths part of it. Okay, this is the second part of my presentation. So the strengths part of this would be that we're going to be a detective for hidden strengths in our children. Okay, when we see the child, even very, very simple things like helping you with the table, washing the dishes or cleaning the table. This could be a good sign that they have some good strengths within them. Okay, you might say they've only done it once, but this is something that you can utilize. The strength of kindness, they are being responsible, they are being flexible with their time to help you to do something in the house, and also they're focused as they do that, and it helps. So that's a strength. So parents and educators, if you see that children, if you see some qualities in them, be sure to actually to take hold of it. Be sure to appreciate them and also say, yeah, that's great that you are being kind, or you're being flexible with your time, and you're helping me, and you're being patient. So bring out the strengths. We would focus on the strengths, and the next strength could be if a child is actually listening to you, even if it's for 1 or 2 minutes, it's still listening. And listening would be showing a love for learning, listening to you, wanting to pick up new things, wanting to grasp new things. So appreciate them. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to me. That's great. Now I'd like to hear you too. The next thing is that the child is actually, being responsible with their online learning, logging in, doing what they have to. Again, that's good, because that shows that they're being resilient. It shows that they are actually focused on their learning, on their future. That's a good thing. So again, appreciate them. Look out for these little things, because that's going to be something that's going to help them as we go through this phase. So as I was just saying about the strengths, we've got in all of us, we've in our brain, we've got a structure called the hippocampus. Okay, and this hippocampus, it can be used for two things. The first thing it can be used for, it's called the fear brain. And it's called the fear brain because every time we feel like stress. Every time we are faced with a new situation, it actually we get a signal from that part of the brain that something is not right. We might either run away from the situation, or we might try to fight the situation, and that's called the fight or flight. It happens in this part of the brain called the hippocampus, and every time you get stressed, every time you feel worried, that's what gets activated first, and happens the same for children. But the good news is that same part is also can be used for learning. It can be used to make new memories. It can be used to help them to learn and to understand information, to recall information. So the same part can be used for both. It can be used as fear and also for learning. So why don't we use that to help our children learn during this time, right? So how do we do that? So we would do that by first addressing the challenge. I would say some of the common challenges that several people would be facing in this time is a lack of a structure. Sometimes the children would not have a structure, and when they wake up, when they go to sleep, when they eat, it's all over the place. So I'd like for you to have a chat with them, talk to them and say, this learning is going to help you feel good. Okay, and waking up on time is going to help you feel good. Why don't you try it? Try it, not just for a day, try it. Try it for try it for a week. Let's try it together and let's see how it goes. So focus on it will help you feel good rather than, it's the right thing to do. Just tell them this very simple thing. And also I would recommend for every parent to actually spend time with the child before the day ends, just thinking about the next day's routine and schedule. What assignments, what is the subjects they have, what do they find in the subject that are easy, that is difficult, something they're excited about, something that they are a little bit anxious or they are confused about, and then how much time would they need. You can just plan it out with the child, and that could make them feel less anxious when they start the day. Okay, go over the assignments together and try to have a routine that you change every day based on what works for them. And then the next thing that could happen is sometimes children are not interested to study. That also comes very, very often, especially as it's almost time for the summer break. Some children would just would say that it's enough is enough. I'm ready for the summer. But what could help them again is a combination of, maybe you can do some live classes along with written classes so that they are able to feel engaged, they're able to see their teachers, if not already. Maybe some children need more of that. You could even have games, in their learning. And also what I would really, really recommend is for each child, especially the ones who are not interested to study, to have a learning styles assessment. What does that mean? That means it's available. It is actually available on the internet. It's a very simple thing. If you type, there's a learning styles inventory. If you actually put that in, you'll actually get to see how the child studies. And it asks a few questions. Some children are good with visual. They like to see and they like to study. Some children like to hear. They are more of auditory. Some children like to do things with their hands. They are practical. Some people are written. So there are several ways that a child can study, and that's their strength. So I would recommend that we do that, and also let's set a schedule that's not too much for them. That's not too overwhelming. That's simple. A lot of children would say that I can do 6 assignments today, but maybe they cannot. Let's start simple. We'll start with 1, and then we'll build it up into more and more and more. So I would say set a very simple schedule for the child. Another thing is that children sometimes get addicted to electronic devices. So as parents, it would be helpful for you to actually model how healthy habits would look like. Okay, that means when you finish your work, you'd finish using the phone, keep it aside, spend time with the family, and also kind of say, okay, I could use my phone, but now I'm going to spend time with the family. And you would actually, even during the day, even during the evening, you would, think of a few activities that you could do together. Cooking, it could be dancing, it could be even creative activities that you could do together, both parents and children, so that they're able to do things beyond the phone. And have a fixed time for the TV. Okay, of course, this might, if you've not already implemented that, try to start it from, from this week and do it for the next 2 weeks and do it consistently, and you'll see a change as you have a fixed time for the TV. Initially, there may be a little bit of a whining and there'll be a little bit of, difficulty from the child, but just say, let's try it, and then you'll get enough time and you'll get to do some other good activities. So have a fixed time. Children who are, again, defiant, who just say, no, I'm not going to learn, I would encourage for us to just look at what is that child actually struggling with. What is that child struggling with? Spend some time with the child during the weekend and just go through the studies, go through the areas of their struggle. Maybe there's something that they're actually finding as a struggle. And also listen to them as they talk about things that they like, Minecraft, or if it's whatever, Instagram, or even if it's a particular friend or whatever it is. Spend time listening to them so that they will build trust with you. Listen and then give your advice later. Do not first criticize them or tell them what you think. Just listen to them. And then you could even spend time with them to make a plan that works for them along with the school. Now, I'd like for us to just very quickly look at a few games and activities that could be helpful for children, especially as the summer holidays are coming. So how is it that we can take care of their mental health and emotional health through some activities? So for children from the ages of 3 to 5, they can actually engage in, they love to do imaginary play. So as parents, you could actually spend that time with the child to engage in pretend play. Yeah, playing about, maybe it's about for girls, it would be about princesses. It would be about some sort of fantasy land. They love to do that. And when you do that, you can also you can actually put in these, as I said, the values of kindness, of being of being brave, of being strong, of being happy, of being grateful, these type of things. When you do these games with them, they also need a lot of movement-based games, and that's going to help them with sensory skills, okay, like skipping, like balancing, jumping, running, different things like that. And of course, the climbing as well. It depends on how much space you've got also, as children are still in the house. So these simple things like skipping or balancing, and even on the spot running or hopping, these are some good games that you can actually do with them. That's going to help them to get more active as well. The next thing is for ages 5 to 7. Really, cooking is something that helps because it helps them to use all the 5 senses. Especially as when they're cooking, they would be mixing with their hands. They would be seeing what exactly is happening to the ingredients. They would be hearing the sounds and they can taste it as well. So there are some games, some activities like cooking you could do, some sports if you have the space, and also would recommend for them to have for you to give them games such as puzzles, mazes, some word searches. These are some things that could help. For ages 7 to 12, they would really love to do more strategy-based games. They would, for example, I would recommend playing a musical instrument. Could be dancing, could be even, for example, chess and Sudoku. Those type of games, those type of activities could be actually helpful for them, and they would find that stimulating for their brains. So that is something that we could do. Now, when we come to the teenage category, we would see that they need a different approach. So I would like for us to sit with them and they need that one-on-one approach, and they need someone who listens and understands in whatever way possible. It could be as simple as setting the simple goals with them. How is that? So just set a simple goal. What would you like to get from this from your studies? They might say, I want to get a grade A for my math class. Okay, that's a good goal. So, and then you can break it down into simple plan. How do we do that? How can we do that together? Do you need any help for that? If they get stuck or if you find them distracted, go back to the plan and tell them, oh, looks like looks like you're not now doing the plan that we were talking about. Is there something that you're finding difficult? So you would have to work one-on-one with them, and you have to set a simple goal, not a big goal, because they won't be able to understand that. And you have to work step by step with them, see the progress and then the next. And it'll be worth discussing with them about larger issues, like, for example, bullying, or, things that's happening in the world. These are some things that they like to talk about. They are not interested probably in things happening within the family, but more so in the community. So spend some time talking to them about them. And also you can encourage them to do something about that. If it's bullying, could be writing an article on bullying, could be actually doing something in their school about that. So, and action for something that they are passionate about, and just take that time to learn what are some things that they are passionate about. It might come when they put it out across to you, they might be having their own opinions. That's okay, listen to them, that's okay. So that I reach the end of my presentation, I would like to leave us all with this statement, and this is called Together We Can. Okay, together as educators, parents, children, together we can. So for educators and parents especially, we can speak words that encourage and strengthen the child. So that means we can speak words that would help them to look forward into the future and not really get stuck on the things that's worrying them. So just words that build them up, like, yes, let's do this together. Instead of saying, don't do this, or that's not right, say, no, let's do this. So we'll change our language a little bit. We will avoid, together we can avoid negative conversations, even though that comes out of emotion sometimes, such as your disappointment, or you cannot do it right, and I'm so stressed with you. We will take that time for ourselves to just cope, and just be by ourselves. And then we will talk to the child. Together we can ask them, what do you have with you right now to solve this problem? What could we do about this? And initially they might not have any answers, but give them the time and they will get back to you. They will tell you. Together we can take every challenge as a learning opportunity. Yes. So that means even if you have a challenge of the child not wanting to go to sleep, it's a learning opportunity for the next day. Okay, and even the child, not cooperating when it comes to their own learning and different things. Again, it's an opportunity to make things better for the child as well as for yourself. So together we can do this. And also another thing is, as I was speaking about the self-care, I would really encourage parents and even educators to spend 5 minutes of their day in between breaks just by themselves to process how they're feeling and kind of allow those negative thoughts to just go. So what I would encourage is a simple breathing exercise where you inhale the anxiety and exhale it through your mouth. So you inhale it and you just inhale the emotion, exhale the emotion through your mouth, and you actually spend that time alone before you speak to a child about something. Spend those 5 to 10 minutes alone just to process, how am I feeling about this? What do I feel about this? How am I going to talk to this child? How am I going to approach this? And make sure that you also go to sleep at a certain time, wake up at a certain time. Exercise is a really good part of that too. So I would really encourage that the family together could get into something where they can do some exercise. It could be fun for the children as well as for parents. So this is all from me. I'd love to take your questions now. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Sneha. And there is one question from the audience: how to deal with kids who experience excessive use of laptops, tablets?
Okay, great. So for such children, it would be good for you to put them on, to actually do a small routine, okay, where you actually you limit the time that you give them to use the tablet. So it has to start small. So how you do that is that they might be using it for a lot of time first. I'd like for us to actually start putting in some other activities that you could do along with them during the day. So think of something else that they could, either get engaged in, as I said, dancing or cooking or different other activities, and then you would put a certain time for the tablets and for the laptops, but engage them in different activities. And as they do that, measure their interest, and then you can just see if they're doing well, or if they're still getting the addiction will persist because they've been doing it for a very, very long time. But I would encourage that we also put some other activities during the day and help them to get involved in that, and then you can actually set a time for them when they can do it. Even though they might exceed the time initially, first you can start with the activities that they can do, and then you would actually see that they'll like what they're engaging in because they're trying something else, and then the time will reduce. They will have a structure. Try to do that for the next 2 weeks, and you will actually see a change as you do it consistently in the child's behavior.
Thank you, Mrs. Neha, and on behalf of Ministry of Education, we're thanking you for taking part and presenting this valuable presentation. And that's and that was the only question that we had from the audience. Many thanks from all the audience that we are receiving, as you can also view it. They're all thanking you for your time. Thank you so much, and we're now ending the session. We're going to have another session in 10 minutes, and it will be in Arabic. So whoever wants to attend, you're most welcome. Thank you so much, Mrs. Neha. Thank you for your time again.
Thank you, Amira. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Thank you.